Imagine, it is 3 in the morning on Interstate 80 in Wyoming. A driver lies flat in the sleeper while the whole cab rocks on its air ride like a boat working an anchor chain. The wind is running 60 miles an hour and the truck moves under him with every gust. He is asleep. Not because he is tougher than anybody else, because of one decision he made in the first 10 minutes after shutdown, and getting it wrong is how a man wakes up on his side. Here is the number. A direct crosswind of around 60 miles per hour can put a tractor trailer on the ground, and that includes a parked one. A 53-foot dry van is more than 400 square feet of flat aluminum, a sail bolted to a frame, and a driver sleeping broadside to the gusts is betting his rig and his spine on physics. But wind speed is not the first number a veteran checks on a night like this. The first number is a weight, and on the worst nights in Wyoming it is posted in lights above the interstate. 50,000 pounds. The Wyoming DOT runs weight-based wind closures, overhead boards that shut long stretches of I-80 and I-25 to high-profile vehicles under a posted gross weight, updated against live wind sensors as the storm builds. In 1 week in December 2025, the Highway Patrol logged roughly 39 vehicles blown over across Wyoming in gusts of 50 to 75 miles an hour, and 11 of the 13 blowovers on I-80 fell inside a 10-mile stretch between Laramie and Elk Mountain. Blow through a closure and it is a misdemeanor, up to $1,000 and 30 days in jail, climbing to $2,500 on a repeat, charged as reckless driving with your license on the line. Then comes the tow bill, which on a flipped rig runs into 5 figures. So the first move of a stormy night is arithmetic. Tractor, trailer, freight, fuel, added up against the number on the sign. A light truck is not looking for a way through. A light truck is looking for a place to stop. Now the assumption every four-wheeler makes is that a loaded rig is safe, that 80,000 pounds does not blow over. The drivers who run the Laramie to Elk Mountain stretch no better. A hard enough gust taken square on the side can put even a grossed-out truck on the ground. Weight buys margin, not immunity. What it really changes is the threshold, because an empty box flips at wind speeds, a loaded one shrugs off. Research on crosswind rollovers puts an empty trailer at roughly 3 times the risk of a full one. So the driver deadheading home with nothing in the box is in more danger than the man grossing out at the scale, and he is the one who most needs what comes next. The parking. This is the decision from the top of the video, and it happens before the brakes are set. The veteran picks his angle before he picks his spot, nose into the wind, point the hood at the weather, and that 400-square-foot sail collapses into the narrow front of a tractor, a shape built to cut air at 70 miles an hour, doing exactly that, standing still. The trailer stops being a wall and becomes an arrow. Park the same truck broadside to a 60-mile-an-hour sustained wind and it can go over with the driver asleep inside it. Same rig, same lot, same storm. The difference is geometry, and if there is a building on the lot, the old hands tuck in close on its downwind side and let a few hundred tons of concrete take the first hit of every gust. Quick thing before we keep going. This channel exists for one reason: to put the work these drivers do where people can actually see it. Most folks will never try to sleep in a cab rocking on its springs while 60-mile-an-hour gusts hammer 400 square feet of trailer to understand what it costs. If you think that deserves to be seen, subscribing is how it stays visible. That is the whole ask. And the shutdown itself is not a judgment call a company gets to argue with. Federal Rule 392.14 requires extreme caution the moment weather starts cutting into traction or visibility. And if conditions get bad enough, the same rule says operations must be discontinued until the truck can run safely again. A dispatcher can push. The regulation outranks him, and it has for decades. The driver who parks in a storm is not being timid, he is being legal. Then the cab has to become a place a man can actually sleep, and the rocking is the first problem. That motion is the air ride doing its job, bags of compressed air soaking up gusts the way they soak up potholes. Some drivers hit the dump valve and let the air out of the suspension for the night, settling the frame down solid, trading the soft ride for a still bunk. Others leave the bags up and let the sway work like a boat at anchor. There is no winning answer, only a preference. And every driver who has done this for years has one. What nobody experienced does is sleep deaf. Earplugs go in on a normal night. On a storm night, they stay out because the sound is information. A steady roar means the wind is holding its line. When the roar breaks into a rhythm of separate slams, the wind has shifted, and a shift can quietly turn a nose-in-park into a broadside one while the driver dreams. The old hands wake up, rid the angle, and if they have to, they fire the engine at 2 in the morning and turn the truck to face the new direction. 30 seconds of work against 9 lives of luck. Lightning gets its own myth. Ask around any fuel island and somebody will tell you the rubber tires are what keep a driver safe when the sky starts throwing bolts at a steel truck alone on open blacktop. The tires have nothing to do with it. A few inches of rubber mean nothing to a current that just jumped miles of open sky. What protects the driver is the cab itself, a closed metal shell that carries the strike around the outside of the body and down to ground, the same reason a car works as shelter. The rule inside is simple. Hands off the metal. Not the door frame, not the column, not the wired CB. The cab protects the man who is not touching its skin. Hail is a blunter argument. Plain storm cells can drop stones from pea size to baseball size inside the same hour, and a windshield that catches a big one becomes a spider web. But drivers who see that black-green sky ahead shut down early for another reason entirely, because of what a sky like that can be building underneath it. That is the one storm that rewrites every rule in this video. If you have stayed this long, the respect part is already obvious. You know what it takes. Hitting subscribe is what carries that respect to the people who never think about the man behind the wheel until the shelves go empty. Now back to it. A tornado warning is the single situation where everything above gets thrown out because a tornado does not rock a truck. It picks one up. The warning reaches the bunk the same way it reaches a house, a phone screaming on the dash at some ugly hour, and what happens in the next 90 seconds is the whole test. The whole logic of the stormy night, stay in the cab, trust the steel, trust the weight, trust the angle, inverts in one radio alert. Carrier safety departments and the National Weather Service line up on the same brutal instruction. Get out. Get away from the truck and every other vehicle on the lot. Find a ditch, a culvert, the lowest ground available, lie flat and cover your head. The machine that shelters a driver 300 nights a year becomes the largest piece of debris in the county, and the muddy ditch that looks like nothing is the shelter. Outrunning it is not a plan either. A tornado can travel up to 70 miles an hour and change direction without a reason, so a driver staring at a funnel through the windshield is not in a race he can count on winning with 80 feet of vehicle behind him. And here is the part that runs against every instinct in the body. In that moment, the safest-looking structure in sight is the deadliest one, the overpass. Solid concrete overhead, walls of earth on both sides. It looks like a bunker. In 1991, a television crew rode out a weak Kansas tornado under a turnpike overpass. The tape aired to millions, and America decided bridges were shelters. Then came the May 3rd, 1999 outbreak in Oklahoma. 3 people died sheltering under highway overpasses that day, one of them under a tornado rated only F2, and many more were badly hurt. An overpass is not a bunker, it is a wind tunnel. The narrow gap accelerates the wind, the embankment lifts you higher into it, and debris comes through horizontally like shrapnel. The National Weather Service has spent 25 years trying to bury the lesson of that video. The bridge that looks like safety kills. The ditch that looks like giving up saves. The men who sleep through 60-mile-an-hour nights in a rocking cab already know it. The storm does not care what looks safe, it only cares what is.